All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to unpack a really powerful idea: the massive, and I mean massive, difference between just understanding something in your head and truly knowing it in your bones. Believe me, it's a distinction that can change pretty much everything.
You ever have that feeling, where you know something is true? You've read about it, you get the concept, you could probably even explain it to a friend. But your actual life, your day-to-day actions, your gut reactions, they just don't match up with that knowledge. It's this super common, superhuman paradox.
So, check out this brilliant example from our source material. Picture this: you win the lottery, like $100 million. Now, intellectually, you see the numbers in your bank account. You understand you're rich. But what happens to so many people is their mindset. It just gets stuck. They still feel that old scarcity, that same anxiety. They still have the habits of being poor. The information is in their head for sure, but the reality of being wealthy, it hasn't sunk into their bones yet. And that right there brings us to our first big idea, which we're calling the $1 million poverty paradox. Now, it's not really about money. It's about this bizarre gap between what our brain understands and what our lived experience actually feels like. So let's break that down. Okay, so to really get this paradox, we need a new way of looking at things. The source material actually introduces two totally different ways of processing reality. And this isn't some small, subtle difference. No, this is the core distinction between just plain understanding and a much, much deeper way of knowing. What's so cool about this slide is how it lays it all out. On one side, you have what the source calls Haskalah, which is just intellectual understanding. It's stuff you've learned, acquired information, and it's debatable, right? For any argument you hear, you can probably think of a counterargument. That's why it often leads to endless indecision. But then, on the other side, you have dot, and that's truly knowing. It's integrated. It's an essential truth. It's decisive. This is the difference between having information in the head and feeling that truth in the bones. So what is da'at, really? Well, think of it as the complete fusion of your mind and your heart. It's that aha moment when an idea you've been thinking about suddenly clicks and becomes a felt reality. It stops being something you have and it becomes a part of who you are. Okay, but this whole idea of da'at can feel a little, well, abstract. So what does it actually look like in the real world, especially when the pressure is on? Let's dive into two really powerful stories from our source material that show this kind of integrated knowledge in action. Our first story, picture this. It takes place in one of the most brutal environments you can imagine, a frozen Siberian labor camp. And in this place, a place of just immense suffering, there's a man named Reb Mendel who incredibly is always smiling. He's always radiating this deep sense of peace. And when people, totally confused by his happiness, asked him how he could possibly be happy there, his answer just nails the whole point. He said his external situation had nothing to do with his inner purpose. His goal was the same in Siberia as it was back home: to connect with God. He had this integrated, unshakable truth inside him that literally made him immune to his surroundings. Now, this second story, it raises the stakes even higher. It's about a simple farmer who owes a huge debt to a very powerful landowner. And here's the deal: if he doesn't pay up by sundown, he and his entire family get thrown into a debtor's prison, a place that, back then, you just didn't come back from. So let's just walk through what happens. First, the threat arrives. A messenger storms in, counting down the final hours. You'd think total panic, right? But no, the farmer is completely calm. He just tells everyone God will help. Then, he does this incredible act of pure faith. With totally empty pockets, he gets in his wagon to go and pay the debt. This wasn't just hope, this was conviction. And because of that, a chance encounter on the road leads to a business deal for the exact amount of money he needed. You see, he didn't just understand he'd be okay, he knew it with such certainty that he acted on it. And it's like reality itself bent to his conviction. These stories are amazing, but they also bring up a really important question. How do we get there? How do we actually bridge that gap between our mind and our heart? Well, according to the source, the main path isn't just about reading more books or gathering more facts. The real key is a practice of deep contemplation. And contemplation here means something really specific. It's not just sitting around daydreaming. It's the active, focused work of taking an idea, like, say, I have a deep inner purpose, or everything is going to be okay, and just turning it over and over in your mind until it moves from being an abstract concept
to a visceral, felt reality. It's all about doing the work to make truth personal.
So let's talk about the payoff. I mean, this whole process of contemplation, it's not just some mental exercise. Why should we do this work? Let's look at the profound real-world benefits of developing this kind of unified self.
And the benefits here are so practical. When your knowledge is truly integrated, you get freedom from being haunted by past regrets. You find an end to that constant anxiety about the future. And why is that? It's because your focus totally shifts. You find a clear, solid purpose in this moment, right here, right now. And that ability to live fully in the present, that's what leads to a deep, lasting sense of inner peace.
And what's really fascinating is that the source points out this isn't just in your head. That constant stress of living in the past or worrying about the future, it has real, measurable biochemical effects on our bodies. It floods us with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. So living with this integrated knowledge, it actually quiets that inner chaos on a physical level too. So if we boil it all down, the crucial point is this. Moving from just understanding to that true integrated knowing, to da'at, is how you turn an abstract truth into your lived reality. It's the bridge that takes you from confusion and anxiety to clarity, peace, and a really powerful sense of purpose. And that leaves us with one final thought to really contemplate for ourselves. Just take a look at your own life. What is one truth that you understand perfectly in your head, but you haven't yet started to truly live?